In 1974, a billionaire opened a Maryland safari park. It grew into Six Flags America, expanding over 500 acres with massive roller coasters and water slides. 51 years later, the amusement park sits completely abandoned. Today, developers are deciding whether to demolish the historic wooden coasters for apartment complexes, ending its rich history. This is the complete rise, fall, and abandonment of Six Flags America. The story begins long before Six Flags ever arrived. In 1974, two animal trainers and businessman Ross Perot opened a drive-through safari attraction called the Wildlife Preserve in Prince George's County, Maryland. The concept was simple. Visitors stayed inside their vehicles and drove through massive animal habitats spread across 500 acres. The location made sense. The land sat near Washington, D.C. Major highways provided easy access. The region had millions of potential customers. On paper, everything looked promising. Reality had other plans. Attendance never reached expectations. The operating costs of maintaining hundreds of animals proved difficult to sustain. Within just 2 years, the project was already collapsing. ABC had become involved in development and purchased additional land surrounding the attraction, hoping the property could eventually become something larger. Instead, in 1976, the company announced the Wildlife Preserve would close. Most of the park's 350 animals were sold off to zoos and other wildlife facilities. Just like that, the safari experiment was over. The gates closed, the animals left, and 500 acres sat empty. But this wasn't the end, not even close. In 1978, television personality Jim Fowler from Wild Kingdom purchased the property. The plan was ambitious: train tours, a children's area, a reimagined wildlife attraction. The problem wasn't vision, the problem was money. Funding issues delayed construction again and again. 1979 passed, 1980 passed, nothing opened. Think about that for a second. 3 different owners, 6 years of existence, and almost no paying visitors since 1976. At this point, most failed attractions would have disappeared entirely. This one somehow survived. Then everything changed. In 1981, the property reopened under a new name, Wild World. The safari concept was gone. The animals were gone. The future was roller coasters. Wild World transformed into a traditional amusement park complete with rides, attractions, and eventually a water park. For the first time, the property actually found an identity that worked. Not spectacular, not world famous, but functional. Wild World became the kind of regional amusement park that quietly embeds itself into local culture. Families visited every summer. School groups filled the pathways. Kids grew up riding the same attractions year after year. For Maryland families, Wild World became part of the routine. And for a while, that was enough. Unfortunately, enough doesn't always pay the bills. By the late 1980s, financial problems had returned. Attendance struggled. Revenue lagged. Expenses kept climbing. Then came the breaking point. In 1991, Wild World filed for bankruptcy and shut down. The park never opened for the season. Everything stopped. The rides sat still. The pathways emptied. The future became uncertain once again. Another amusement park had become another ghost. Or at least it looked that way, because just 1 year later, new owners arrived. The Tierco Group acquired the property and immediately rebranded it. Wild World became Adventure World. The strategy was straightforward: invest, improve, compete. And unlike previous owners, they actually followed through. In 1995, Adventure World installed Mind Eraser, one of the first Vekoma suspended looping coasters in America. For a regional park, that was a significant investment. It signaled something important. This wasn't just another rescue attempt. The owners genuinely believed the park could succeed. And surprisingly, it worked. Attendance improved, the property stabilized. Tierco's parent company, Premier Parks, became increasingly ambitious. They began buying regional amusement parks all across America. Then they did something even bigger. They acquired the Six Flags brand itself. Suddenly, the small Maryland amusement park found itself connected to one of the largest theme park companies in North America. In 1999, Adventure World officially became Six Flags America. For a property that had gone bankrupt only 8 years earlier, the transformation was remarkable. The Six Flags years brought legitimacy. They also brought expectations. For local visitors, the Six Flags logo represented stability. After decades of uncertainty, ownership changes, and financial struggles, the park finally appeared secure. And for a while, it was. Throughout the early 2000s, Six Flags America operated as a classic regional amusement park, not a destination resort, not a tourism powerhouse, just a reliable summer attraction for millions of people living around Washington, D.C. But here's what made the park important. It wasn't famous, it was familiar. People celebrated birthdays there. Schools organized field trips there. Teenagers spent entire summers there. Parents brought their children to ride attractions they once rode themselves. Regional amusement parks rarely dominate headlines. They dominate memories. That matters more than most people realize. The park continued receiving investments. New rides arrived. New attractions opened. The property expanded, and several additions would become particularly important. Superman Ride of Steel quickly became one of the park's headline attractions. The Joker's Jinx launched riders through a compact, high-speed layout. DC Comics theming spread throughout large sections of the park. But the most significant attractions weren't necessarily the newest, they were the oldest. The Wild One wasn't built for Six Flags America. It wasn't even built in Maryland. The wooden coaster originally opened in Massachusetts at Paragon Park in 1917. That's not a typo, 1917. The ride survived world wars, economic collapses, ownership changes, and the closure of its original part before being relocated to Maryland in 1986. Eventually, American coaster enthusiasts designated it a roller coaster landmark, a formal recognition reserved for historically significant rides. A 108-year-old wooden roller coaster was still operating. That's incredible, and it wasn't alone. Another attraction carried historical significance, Firebird. Before arriving in Maryland, Firebird operated as Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America in Illinois. More importantly, it was the first roller coaster ever built by Swiss manufacturer Bolliger and Mabillard. Today, B&M is considered one of the most respected coaster manufacturers on Earth. The ride represented a major piece of amusement industry history. So think about what sits abandoned on this property today. A certified roller coaster landmark, and the first coaster ever built by one of the industry's most influential manufacturers. Both are silent, both are waiting, and neither knows its future. Now here's where the story takes a turn, because the real threat wasn't competition. It wasn't attendance. It wasn't even the rides. It was corporate math. By the mid-2000s, Six Flags had grown aggressively. The company owned parks across North America. Expansion created opportunities. It also created debt, lots of debt. Dan Snyder, owner of Washington's NFL franchise, eventually became chairman of the Six Flags board. The company struggled. Financial pressure mounted. Then came Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in 2010. The bankruptcy restructured debt, but it didn't completely solve the underlying challenges facing the company. Still, Six Flags America survived. Many parks don't survive corporate bankruptcy. This one did. Operations continued. Visitors returned. The rides kept running. Years passed. Then another major industry shakeup arrived. In 2024, Six Flags merged with Cedar Fair. The merger created one of the largest amusement park operators in North America. The announcement sounded positive. Bigger company, greater efficiency, stronger portfolio. Investors liked the idea, but mergers create winners and losers. Every property suddenly gets analyzed. Every park gets measured. Every asset gets questioned. And that's exactly what happened. Six Flags America found itself competing not just against other parks, it was competing against every park inside its own company. That is a very difficult battle to win. Then came the announcement. In May 2025, Six Flags Entertainment Corporation revealed that Six Flags America and Hurricane Harbor, Maryland would permanently close at the end of the season. The explanation was simple. The property was no longer considered a strategic fit. The land itself had become more valuable than the amusement park sitting on top of it. Think about how brutal that calculation is. Not attendance, not popularity, not history, land value. A spreadsheet looked at 500 acres and decided apartments, warehouses, retail space, or mixed-use development would generate more money than roller coasters. And that was the end. The company needed capital. The merged organization was dealing with financial pressures and significant stock declines. Something had to go. Six Flags America became the easiest target. Not because it was the worst park, because it was the easiest line item to remove. Hurricane Harbor closed first, September 6th, 2025. Then attention shifted to the main park, November 2nd, 2025. Final operating day, final dispatches, final rides, final memories. Crowds packed the park. Fans traveled long distances for one last visit. Videos flooded social media. People documented everything: the stations, the midways, the rides, the atmosphere. Many visitors weren't saying goodbye to a theme park. They were saying goodbye to part of their childhood. And among enthusiasts, one concern appeared repeatedly: save the Wild One, save Firebird, preserve the history. Because once demolition begins, history becomes much harder to protect. Now let's talk about what the property looks like today, because this is where the story becomes fascinating. Most people assume amusement parks disappear quickly after closure. That rarely happens. In reality, amusement parks are incredibly complicated pieces of infrastructure. They're not just rides, they're entire cities: road networks, electrical systems, water systems, maintenance facilities, restaurants, warehouses, parking lots, offices, drainage systems, utilities. Everything has to be evaluated before redevelopment can begin, and that takes time. Sometimes a lot of time. The result? The park remains standing. The roller coasters are still there. The tracks are still there. The stations are still there. The food stands are still there. The games are still there. Everything looks frozen, like someone pressed pause and never came back. This stage is often the strangest part of an amusement park's life cycle. The park is gone, but it's still physically present. Visitors can't enter. Employees don't operate rides. Maintenance crews stop performing routine work. Yet the structures remain exactly where they were. And that's when decay begins. Not all at once, slowly. Wood absorbs moisture. Paint fades, metal corrodes, mechanical systems age. Nature starts reclaiming territory. Every month matters. Every winter matters. Every storm matters. The longer redevelopment takes, the harder preservation becomes. History doesn't disappear overnight. It disappears one season at a time. And history suggests redevelopment could take longer than many people expect. Need proof? Look at Six Flags New Orleans. After Hurricane Katrina devastated the park in 2005, redevelopment proposals appeared constantly. Developers came and went. Announcements came and went. Plans came and went. Yet 20 years later, much of the property still sits abandoned. 2 decades, an entire generation, a theme park slowly rotting in the middle of a major American city. Nobody expects Six Flags America to sit untouched for 20 years. But the example demonstrates something important. Redevelopment is rarely fast and almost never simple. Today, Six Flags has partnered with commercial real estate firm CBRE to market the Maryland property. The stated goal is redevelopment, commercial use, mixed-use projects, future investment. But there is no definitive timeline, no confirmed replacement, no final plan, only uncertainty. Which brings us back to the Wild One, a roller coaster built in 1917, a ride that survived the closure of Paragon Park, a ride that survived ownership changes, a ride that survived bankruptcy, a ride that survived every major crisis this property experienced. For more than a century, somebody always found a reason to keep it operating. Now, for the first time in decades, nobody knows what comes next. And that's what makes this story bigger than one amusement park. This wasn't just Six Flags America. This was 51 years of history, 5 names, multiple owners, a safari park, an amusement park, a water park, a regional landmark. The rides are still standing, the pathways are still empty, and the future is still unwritten for this abandoned property. If you're drawn to abandoned places, forgotten history, and the stories corporations leave behind, subscribe and hit notifications. Some of America's most fascinating stories don't end when the gates close. They begin there, and we've got plenty more to uncover.